Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Hemali here, and thank you for joining me in another episode of Asking for a Friend. If you're new to my channel, Asking for a Friend is a series that I am doing where I offer people life advice. I love making connections with my followers, and a lot of my followers actually ask me questions all the time asking for advice on various topics. So I thought, why not make it into a series, because this may be helpful for a bunch of people that are too afraid to ask the question, hence the name Asking for a Friend, so that you stay anonymous and you still get the advice that you need. So people will slide into my DMs, they will respond back to a question box I put on my stories, or they'll leave some comments under my YouTube videos just asking for advice on different aspects of their life, and I pick about 1 to 3 questions a week and I answer them for you. So the first question I'm going to be answering today is how to deal with difficult in-laws. Now, this is something that people ask me all the time. I genuinely feel really grateful and blessed that I don't have difficult in-laws. My in-laws have been great since the beginning, since I've met them. I've never really had any problems with them. So knock on wood, it stays like that, but they are amazing. So I can't speak on this from personal experience, but based on the advice that I've heard from friends and also advice that I personally would just give, knowing how to deal with difficult people, is first things first. When you are in a relationship with your partner, you also need to understand that these are your partner's parents and they may have some type of emotional connection with them too. So you don't want to be like stepping on everyone's toes. You want to be able to, resolve this problem in the nicest way you possibly can, because at the end of the day, these are people that you're going to see for the rest of your life and that are also your partner's also potentially very close with. So the first thing I would do in this situation is really talk to my partner. Let them know how you're feeling. Say, hey, you know, your parents said this to me today and it was just really awkward, and I don't know how to handle it. I don't want to be like stepping on any toes or like being mean to your parents or making them feel any type of way, but it did make me feel very uncomfortable. And get them to speak to their parents first, because they have a better understanding of how to talk to their parents and they have more of a relationship with their parents. Sometimes in immigrant families, they may find it very disrespectful if the in-law is, you know, bringing up these topics or whatever it is. So I would say that should be your first route, is try to get your partner to understand and relay that message to the parents and really get them to fight for you. And I think when your partner is really committed to a relationship and wanting to make things work, and you know what you're asking for makes sense, they will go out of their way to fight for you and let their parents know and set that kind of boundary on your behalf. And vice versa, like, you know, if your partner feels the same way about your parents, like you should be doing the same, as you should be talking to their parents to like calm them down and make them understand the full situation. Now, I understand that doesn't always work, and that the partner may not always be able to get through to your parents. And at that point, you need to just set your boundaries with them, you know, explain to them how you're feeling and what you're going to do about the situation. Like, you know, I don't feel comfortable with you giving candies to my kids. And if you continue to give candies to our kids past like 9 o'clock, then I'm no longer going to bring them to your house after 9 o'clock then. And you really need to set those boundaries and let them know that you are going to stick with them. And, you know, if they break those boundaries, then you need to follow through with what you said you were going to do, and let them know that, you know, you are not going to let them just walk all over you, and do it in a nice way though. Like, you don't want to just be like, F you, like I don't really like want to listen to you, and I feel like, you know, you have no say in my life and blah blah blah. Like, you don't really want to go to that extent. You want to be like, look, I'm trying to reason with you here. This is what makes me feel uncomfortable for this and this reason, and I would appreciate it if you wouldn't do XYZ, or I would appreciate it if you'd be more mindful about the things that you said, etc. Now, when you're dealing with in-laws that are emotionally immature, which a lot of times in immigrant families they are, because Unfortunately, a lot of our immigrant parents didn't have the ability to work through their mental health, work through their trauma and things like that. So they project a lot. That's not always their fault, but you have to kind of understand that situation and understand that it's going to be difficult. That doesn't mean you need to give in. That just means you need to set your boundaries and understand that they're not always going to understand those boundaries. They're not always going to be okay with them, and that they also will fight back. But you just need to stand your ground and know that this isn't about you and that you're not the bad person. You did your part in communicating, and you did your part to, really resolve the issue. At that point, the ball is in their court. If they're going to respond in a childish way, then that's on them. That's not on you. I think a lot of times when you're trying to resolve a situation like this, you so desperately want both parties to be happy. You want yourself to be happy. You also want, your in-laws to be happy, but that may not always be the case, and you have to be okay with that. You have to do what's best for you and look out for you and your family first. And again, it's not about being disrespectful towards them. It's just about setting your boundaries and kind of sticking with them in the most polite way possible. If they take it as disrespect, then that's on them at that point. And it's not your problem if they overreact. Again, as long as you're doing it in a kind way where you're being firm about what you want, but also not being rude about it. I hope that helps, and I hope you're able to build a better relationship with your in-laws. The next question I got was, should I continue to date a nice, sweet guy whom I don't feel sparks with? So this question's a little bit difficult to answer because I don't know your full situation. So I'm just gonna go based off a few assumptions and stuff like that. But it really depends on kind of how long you've known him, if you've really given it a try. Obviously, you can't force a relationship and force yourself into liking someone if you really don't feel anything there. But sometimes what happens when you are dating or getting to know someone is they may not be fully vulnerable with you at the beginning. They may not open up to you at the beginning. So you may not get their true self right at the beginning. Sometimes in some relationships, it does take time to feel that spark and to fall in love, because you may be driving in the sense that you do know how to talk to each other and stuff like that, but you're still on a surface level of getting to know each other. It's when you really start understanding the person, seeing their more vulnerable side, is when you may start falling in love with them, or like really starting to see that there's potential in this relationship. If you've given it a chance to that extent and you feel like, I'm still not really feeling sparks, I've gone on quite a few dates with this guy and I just don't see it really going anywhere, then I would just end the relationship, because you don't want to keep leading someone on where you genuinely just don't see a future in. Sometimes I also feel like you need to understand, is he a nice, sweet guy, or is he just like a yes man? Because sometimes that can happen too, where you get into a relationship with someone, it could be a guy or a girl, where they're like a people pleaser. They just want to say and do things that will please you, and maybe that's why you're not feeling a spark, because there's no genuine connection there. They're just trying to please you in whatever way you want or they think you want. So maybe that's also why you're not feeling the spark. Is understand, are they a yes man, or is it just not a spark there based on their genuine personality? That may also be the differentiator. Like, he may seem like a nice guy, but he's just putting on this act to, please you and make you feel like he's the guy that you want, when you know that that connection's not genuine. And another thing I would suggest in this situation too is maybe make the first step to be a little bit more vulnerable, have a more emotional conversation, open up a little bit more, so that it may prompt them to do the same. And so you really can get to know their true self and get to know who they are, because when you have that more vulnerable interaction, it creates a deeper bond and a deeper emotional connection in which you may feel sparks. Again, if you try to have those conversations and they're really not giving in, they're really not giving you anything to work with, and you've tried quite a few times, I would say walk away from the relationship, because you can't force a spark to happen sometimes. And you should know in your gut too that, like, hey, I really don't see this going anywhere. But if it's just like a first date or first 2 dates and you're like, hey, I didn't have a spark with you, I think it does take a little bit more time than that for someone to really open up to you, maybe like 2 to 3 months. And if you feel like, this may have a chance, I would give them the 2 to 3 months for them to really get to warm up to you and get to know you, because there's a lot of people that have social anxiety, and there's a lot of people that are just more introverts, and so they take some time to really get to know. I hope that answers your question and you do find a partner that you end up feeling sparks with. Anyways, that's all the questions I'm going to answer in this video today. If you have any more questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below or slide into my DMs on Instagram at hemali.mistry. If you did like this video, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel. And as always, I appreciate all the love and support you constantly show me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!